We were standing at the corner of the kitchen, and my first contraction hit me, and it hit me like a freight train. And I grabbed onto you and just like sunk into you and was like, oh, like immediately vocal. Like it was like immediate, and it felt exactly like a transition contraction. I'm Kayla Heeter, follower of Jesus, wife and mother of 6 children, Christian childbirth educator and doula, and your host of the Surrendered Birth Stories podcast, where we share God-centered birth stories, evidence-based birth education, and our pursuit of surrendering our birth plans to God. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to announce that I have officially given birth to our 6th sweet baby and am soaking up every newborn cuddle and snuggle and smell and smile and nursing session and everything that comes with the sweet newborn season. So during this time over the next several weeks, to give my husband and I a little bit of a break from working on the podcast each week, we are actually going to be replaying all of our birth stories, our personal, my husband and I's birth stories. So since we have now 6 children, for 5 weeks, we will replay each of our kids' birth story one by one, a blast from the past, or maybe you've never heard them before because you're a new listener. So that will give you sort of an idea of my journey when it came to birth. And then in the 6th week, we will release this sweet baby's birth story as the start of our new episodes beginning again. So I hope you all enjoy listening while we enjoy cuddling this sweet new baby. Welcome to another episode of the Surrendered Birth Stories podcast. And my very special guest today.
My name's Chris, and I'm Kayla's husband.
You're my favorite guest.
I'm so honored.
You're my favorite person to have on here.
Yeah.
Because you're my favorite person, period.
Well, this is a little uptick from our last experience that we just had together. We had some dessert, and we had some cheesecake from a new place in town.
I don't know if it's that new. It's just new to us.
I suppose, but we're not going to tell y'all where it was.
As to not give them bad advertising. But if you message me privately, I'll tell you where to avoid.
But it was not a good piece of cheesecake.
It was not.
Yeah.
I'm glad we used a coupon and did buy one, get one free. It makes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it was salty. Mine was salty. And there was whipped cream on it.
Yeah.
And yours didn't have real crust.
It was cake. The crust was cake. That's so weird.
I don't know. I just need to keep making my own cheesecakes.
Your cheesecake is amazing. Even after the first bite, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I wish I was eating Kayla's cheesecake. Anyway.
Well, thank you. Last time we did this, you had pneumonia.
But we didn't know it at the time. I was just coughing and I was congested.
Coughing.
And I sounded really strange. And lo and behold, it turned out to be pneumonia.
So if you go back and listen to Milo's episode, you will hear a sick version of Chris. But he was a trooper and he made it through.
Thank you.
And so today we're going to talk about Jensen's birth story.
Oh, Jensen. Oh, what a boy.
Jensen.
We love Jensen.
Okay. So let's start from the very beginning with the fact that after Milo, we had the conversation, and I think we were like 95% sure we were done having kids.
After 2? Yeah.
After 2. Because for me, going from 1 to 2 was really hard for me.
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard for everybody. I mean, the transition from having just one child that really needs you, that's almost 3 years old, to having that plus a newborn and trying to adjust to that. It was just a really tough transition for for you in particular, because you were home with the kids, you know.
And I think I talked about that a little bit at the end of Milo's story, but it was hard for me for a while, and that's when I decided I really wanted to go back to work, not into teaching in the classroom, but just, and not like part-time doula work, but like I wanted to go away daily to do something for myself. Okay, so we had just had the conversation that we were done having kids, to the point where I sold all of my maternity clothes. I didn't get rid of all the baby stuff only because I knew we had so many friends with young babies, and it was nice just when they came over that I could be like, oh, do you need this swing, or do you need this seat, or do you need this boppy? And
it's nap time. Here's a pack and play.
Right. Here's a pack and play. Here's like, it was just nice. So I didn't get rid of that stuff, but like I got rid of other things that I shouldn't have gotten rid of. And then I feel like it was like a month later, you came home and you told me that you wanted a third baby.
Right. I remember being at a funeral. I was playing music for a funeral, and I remember it was these two early 30s sisters. It was just two sisters. Their dad died. And I remember looking at them and saying, or thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like if one of our kids, Lord forbid, ever were to pass away, there's only one, and they would be lonely. And quick backstory on some of my history. I'm one of 3 boys, but the age difference, I'm youngest by a long shot. But my middle brother passed away in 2008. And so to me, it didn't feel like a possibility until it happened that one of my siblings would pass away. And so just thinking through that lens, it's like, oh goodness, I don't want to just have 2. I thought to myself, oh gosh, like if one of them passes, that would be horrible, but it would be extra horrible to have to go through it alone. Not that our kids wouldn't have us, but to not be able to relate with a sibling during that time, that would just be really tough. And so I remember having that epiphany when I was there.
Yeah, which for me at the time was not enough of a reason. Only because Milo's pregnancy was so much harder than Brinkley's, and just the transition was so much harder. So I was just still like, whoa, no, I'm barely making it with 2 at home. I will die if there are 3 at home. Like, it's not going to happen. So I actually started actively searching for a job. And it was like several months later, I think like 7 or 8 months later, I was in the process of interviewing for a position at the Pregnancy Care Center, which I was really excited about because it was like ministry and birth, and, you know, it was just an awesome opportunity. And in the middle of that, I had been driving home one day from somewhere, probably picking up Brinkley from preschool or something. And the Lord finally gave me a peace about having a third child, and that we would make it and he would take care of us and it would be okay, and just to trust him. And so you and I ended up going on a date. It was either like that night or the next night. And we were sitting at the dinner table. I remember we went to Melt in Greensboro. And I remember looking at you and being like, okay, all right, we can have a third baby. Like, God's given me a peace about it now. We can do this. But then the question of when came up, because I was like, oh, but not yet, because this, and what about this? And we can't do it that, because what about this? And like, I was just trying to super plan it. And
Super plan.
And then I think within that conversation, or soon after that, it was sort of like, well, if we're going to do this, like, let's just surrender and let the Lord decide when we're supposed to have a baby.
Yeah, because there was always going to be something that's in the way.
Yeah, there's always going to be something that didn't line up with the calendar for me to be pregnant.
Especially if you have even more kids, or you have really like strong career aspirations. Like, there's always going to be something. Yeah,
there's never going to be the right time. So we did decide, though, that we would wait until I got one more cycle, like one more period. And then after that, we would like stop using protection because at the time we were on the condom train. So I was supposed to get my period when we were going on a trip in Ohio. We had a friend's wedding to go to. So I brought all the things that I was going to need with me and took the kids up, went on that trip, went to that wedding, and it never came. And I just thought, oh, it's the travel, it's the stress, okay, whatever. We came back, still didn't get it all week, still didn't have it. And I remember the next weekend you were like, do you think you should take a test? And I was like, no, it's impossible. We use protection. There's no way that I could be pregnant. It's impossible. And you're like, well, I mean, you're late. Why don't we try? Because at this point I was over a week late, maybe a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, fine, whatever. I'm just going to go to the Dollar Tree, get a $1 test, bring it home, show you I'm not pregnant. And I was so convinced that there was no way that I could be. And, oh gosh, that morning was so hard. I don't know if you remember this. We had taken the kids to the dentist and we found out that morning that Brinkley had 10 cavities and needed $5,000 worth of dental work. In which, hello, I'm not working. And so I'm I can't, we can't do, I'm so overwhelmed by that news. And then, I don't know, an hour later, I took this pregnancy test that I expected to be negative. And lo and behold, it was positive.
The Dollar Tree, they got it right.
Those tests work just the same. I'll tell you, there's no point in spending $10 or $15 or however much they charge for the other ones now. The dollar, well, though, now you would have to pay $1.25 because of inflation. So let's be real. But anyways,
unless you want one of those tests that tells you a couple days early.
Oh,
and then,
well, but even then it tells you the percentage of it being right that early. It's not, whatever. So anyways, when God had given me that peace about, okay, we can have this third baby, I was already pregnant and didn't know it, which was good. He gave me that peace because that was going to be a much bigger shock to the system otherwise.
This is my reasoning that we don't have to classify this pregnancy or conception, rather, as an accident.
Right. Well, that's such a hard word. That's such a triggering word for some people. It was not a conscious conception, to use a term that I hear tossed around all the time.
I would agree with that.
It was not a conscious conception. It was a condom conception. That's what I'll say. Anyways, I was pregnant. But we found out so much later than we had with the others that, less than a week, I was so incredibly sick. So sick. And I ended up, during that time, getting offered a job at our church that was going to be providing childcare. And so I ended up turning down the pregnancy care center job that I had been offered.
But you had also been wanting to work at the church for a while.
Yeah, no, I'd been wanting to work at our church for years. So it was sort of just this incredible opportunity. I just felt bad because I was supposed to show up for my first day that following Monday. And by Sunday night, I was immobile, could not move. I was so sick.
Yeah. When did you end up, because you ended up going to the hospital.
Yeah, that was 2 days later. It was
yeah.
Tuesday. Yeah, we went to the hospital. I got fluids. I got IV anti-nausea medicine. And that was awful. I have never felt so sick in my life. And I think part of it was just we had no time to prepare. It was just oh, this is happening right now. So I was not ready for it. That was a dark time for me. And this is hard. This is hard to admit, but it was real and it was raw. I would go to the bathroom, be throwing up everywhere, on the bathroom floor, can't move, shaking, praying to God for a miscarriage so that I didn't have to feel that way anymore. Praying that he would give this baby to somebody else who thought that all of that physical misery was worth it. I just wanted somebody to knock me unconscious and wake me up when it was all over because I was so miserable. It was awful.
Just so in the future, if Jensen hears this, I want to ask you the question, was it worth it,
It
babe?
was worth it. It was worth, well, obviously it was worth it because hello, baby's 4 and 5. But at the time, that's just like, in all transparency, that is where my mental state was. It was so hard.
You were not in a good place mentally and physically. I don't know if I've really ever seen you that bad before, because you were like eyes closed, barely could walk. I had to help you down the stairs the day that we went to the hospital. Like you could.
I had body ache, I had chills, like, and it wasn't the flu. It was the pregnancy. Because I didn't have a fever or anything.
Because it persisted for such a long time.
Yeah. It was so hard. But about 23 weeks in, gosh, that's like over halfway.
That's pretty serious.
But I finally started feeling better. But I did end up going to work eventually, I think a few weeks later than planned, which was a good distraction because it was like half days, which was it was just nice to not have to be responsible for the 2 little kids during that time. And even though I was throwing up while I was at work, it was nice to just be able to throw up and then like keep going back to what I was doing. Because it was a desk job. I wasn't like up and moving around a lot. But man, hard times. Oh, I knew that this child would be a boy. I knew that before we ever did an ultrasound, because about a year before that, I had what you would call, I don't want to say pregnancy scare, because, it's, I don't know, that doesn't sound right, but I thought I was pregnant. I was 2 weeks late, and I had a 1-year-old. Like, Milo was 1, and I was like, oh, there's no way. Oh my gosh, this can't be happening to me. Like, just, I was just really freaked out. But during those 2 weeks, I just drew really close to the Lord and really leaned on him and was really praying and worshiping and just sort of like giving it over. And during that time, he told me that we were going to have a boy. Like clear as day, told me we were going to have a boy. And so when I ended up getting my period, a couple weeks later, I was like, oh, okay, false alarm. Right. He just was testing me. Okay. He was just testing me to see if I would surrender, to see if I would just let him be in control. But I never thought we would actually have another baby. I just thought he was testing me. Well, then, of course, when we find out that we're pregnant with Jensen, I knew it was a boy immediately. I was like, oh, this is the boy that the Lord told me about a year ago. So there was no question in my mind. And that's the only time I've ever felt that way, like super, super confident in that.
We were scheduled to have this wonderful baby at the birth center this time around as well, just like we did with Milo last time.
Yeah.
And so we were not planning for a home birth. I don't remember if it was on the table at all.
No, a home birth was not on the table this time because it was all like insurance based, which in hindsight, I don't recommend making birth decisions solely on insurance. That is not the best. However, we had such a good experience with Milo at the birth center, comparatively speaking to the hospital, that we just felt like, of course, we're going to go back there. I mean, they felt like family to us. Like it just like they knew us, we knew them. It felt like kind of a second home. So it felt very comforting to go back there. And so we had planned this as a birth center birth, the one in Statesville, just like Milo, from the beginning.
And also, one of my big things going into that decision was that they were just absolute rock stars at Milo's birth, because that was a very difficult birth. And they did such an amazing job. And they got a, 10-pound, 12-ounce baby out. It's like, oh, goodness, well, you guys are amazing. You stayed positive the whole time. You say, basically, in my mind, it's like they saved my baby's life in a lot of ways.
Let's fast forward to the end of the pregnancy. I was in good health. I felt good. I actually felt a lot better than I did at the end of Milo's. I was dancing. I was moving. Everything was going good. But
Tell me about your dancing.
I lead a dance group at my church.
Oh.
You know that. But here I was like 37, 38, 39 weeks pregnant and like just hip hopping all around. Thought that would get the baby out. It didn't, but it would have been nice. So I was getting fearful that I would have to deliver another 11-pound baby. And not that I didn't think I was capable, I just didn't want to. I just thought, it would be nice if I could push out a baby that was smaller than Milo. So I was concerned about going any later because I knew they would just get bigger. So I'm
That's what babies do.
That's what they do. So I started doing all the things at like 39 weeks, started doing all the nipple stimulation and the walking and the sex. And I had already been doing red raspberry leaf tea and evening primrose oil and all the things. And I even this time did the dreaded castor oil. Oh, it's the only time I've done it. It didn't work, but I did it. I didn't throw up, actually, amazingly, which was really surprising.
Is this the one that we did, the midwife's cocktail?
No.
Well, I made one.
You made one. That was for True, and I didn't get but one sip down before it came back up. But that is a story for another time.
To be continued.
So anyways, I went to the birth center a couple of times to get my membrane swept. I was just like, do all the things. I don't want to push out an 11-pound baby. So I was getting really frustrated. I was getting to that point. I also don't like to go to church at the very end of my pregnancies because I don't like hearing all the comments of everyone's like, oh my God, you're still pregnant and you're getting so big and that baby isn't out yet. Like it just drives me crazy because I'm so emotionally sensitive at that point that I cannot take it. I'll either say something really nasty back to them or I'll just break down and cry.
Have you ever said something nasty?
No, but I say it in my head. So, but I'm afraid it will come out one day. So I just avoid it. So I dropped the kids off at church with you because you were already there and left. And I came home and I cried and I took a nap and then I took more castor oil. And then I was just like, this sucks. It was bad. I was 40 weeks. That was my due date.
Mm-hmm.
I think, or maybe it was the day after, it was around 40 weeks. So then you were coming home and I said, okay, new plan. I'm going to forget that I'm pregnant. We're going on a date tonight. We got a babysitter. And I was like, we're going out, which we never do on a Sunday night. But so we were going to do dinner and a movie. And we were on our way to the restaurant. And I just said like, hey, I give up. Okay. I'm done trying to get this baby to come out of me. I'm just going to surrender, which is what I should have done from the beginning. And I just told you, I was like, this is where I'm at. This is what it is. And I'm done. We're just going to pretend like I'm not even trying to have a baby right now. We're just going to go on a date and have a good time. It was our due date.
Oh, that's really sweet.
So we get to the restaurant and the Bonefish Grill, which is like our date spot.
Oh, correction. It's not the Bonefish Grill. It's just
Bonefish Grill. Oh, wow.
You should know this.
20 years later, I learned something new. So, so we're sitting at the table and Chris prays for us and he says a prayer and he's praying over our food, but he's also praying over just the pregnancy and the surrender and just like giving this situation over to the Lord and letting us just be filled with his peace. And I kid you not, like our food was sitting in front of us and I go to take a bite and my water breaks.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sitting there at the booth and I was like, because with my first two babies, they had broken my water during labor. So like my water had never broken on its own and I had never had my water break to start a labor because I hadn't been having any contractions. So this was a new sensation for me, but I knew exactly what it was when it happened because it feels like warm fluid spilling out of you, going everywhere, dripping onto the floor, like everything. So I looked at you and I remember I was just like, my water just broke. And you were like, for real? And I was like, yes. And you're like, what do we do? And I was like, get the check. Because, which in hindsight, I shouldn't have done. And we should have just stayed and had dinner and gone to the movie and everything. But knowing that in my other 2 labors, after my water had broken, that is when things like picked up and got really serious and really fast. So I was thinking, well, if my water breaks now, like that could happen now. So I just wanted to be prepared, and I wanted to go home, but we really should have stayed.
We're missing a minor detail
Okay,
that I'd like to share.
Share it.
So after your water broke, we, felt the courtesy to tell somebody at the restaurant that there's going to be something to clean up. So you flagged down this poor little bus boy.
He couldn't have been more than like 17.
You said, hey, come here. And then you said, my water just broke. Can you please get me a bunch of bar towels? And the look on his face, I don't know if it was just, I wouldn't call it being petrified, but he was somewhere between uncomfortable and petrified, for sure.
He looked like he was scarred. I felt so bad. But I also was like, I need to clean this up. I also didn't want to just leave a sopping mess of it looked like someone got in their water glass and just poured it on the booth. So I was trying to clean up after myself.
Why is this water so warm?
Right. Warm and salty. Anyways, poor busboy. I hope he's okay. Whether you are pregnant with your first baby or wanting to have a different birth experience for a subsequent delivery, this is the fully comprehensive Christian childbirth course for you, the Surrendered Birth Course. With over 10 years of experience as a childbirth educator, a birth doula, and having had 5 kids myself, almost 6, I have created a course fit for every mama out there who wishes to be fully informed on all things pregnancy, labor, birth, postpartum, and breastfeeding, while remembering to keep Jesus at the center of it all. Our God created a beautiful design for birth, something to look forward to, and not something to be feared. Not only will this course get you prepared for your birth, but it will also get you excited for it. It will answer questions you never knew you had and teach you things you didn't realize were so incredibly valuable and central to the entire birthing process. I've had numerous couples on their 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th babies who've taken this course and said how incredibly glad they were and that they learned so much more than they ever thought they would. With over 12 hours of video content, 5 modules, numerous lessons, detailed PDF printout notes, and endless resources, we dive deep into pregnancy, labor, the risks and benefits of interventions, inductions, immediate and extended postpartum for both mom and baby, everything you need to know about breastfeeding, and basic newborn care. This course covers everything. Once you've taken the course, I am available to you for any questions you might have during a monthly live Q&A Zoom call exclusive to our online course audience, as well as through email. The course is on demand, so as soon as you purchase it, you'll be able to start right away and re-watch any lessons as many times as you need. Whether you are planning a medicated hospital birth or an unmedicated birth at a birth center or home birth, this course will prepare you in every way that you can be prepared. While I understand the desire to take a specific hospital or home birth course catered to your specific birth plans, birth doesn't always go how we plan. And having the knowledge of how birth can go in other environments outside of our plans is essential. Most importantly, I will help you to surrender these plans to God And in return, the Holy Spirit will provide you with the peace that only He can give. For more information on the course, to read testimonials of others who have taken it, or to sign up for the course, just click the link in the show notes. And lastly, remember, just like we say here every week on the podcast, learn all that you can, make the best plans, and then leave it in God's hands. So we go home, and I call my mom over, and we send the babysitter home, and we're all like getting ready, and like nothing happens. No contractions, nothing. And I called the midwife at the birth center just to let her know, and she was like, okay, well, just go to bed. Like, let us know if anything happens. And I'm like, really? So, opposite from the hospital. And she said, now, I don't know if this is still true here in the state of North Carolina in 2023, but this was 2019. And she said, no, you have up to 72 hours before we would need to intervene, and do anything to move the labor along. But basically, my water can be broken for up to 72 hours before they do anything. Seriously? Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to go to bed. And so we did. We went to bed, slept all night. Nothing happened. I didn't have any contractions. I called the next morning and I was like, okay, nothing's going on still. And that's when they said, they're like, okay, well, if you want, you can do nipple stimulation, you can drink castor oil, you can do these things, but it's fine. So here I am again, trying to put myself into labor, hooked up to the breast pump and drinking the castor oil and doing all the things and being like, this sucks. Nothing is happening. And I was so frustrated. We were even watching comedy shows to try and keep my mind in a good place. We had sent the kids to daycare for the day. So it's just you and I at home, and all day, nothing is happening. And we couldn't have sex because my water was broken. So we just were waiting, and I was literally so frustrated. And I even called the midwife and I was like, well, could I just come in? She's like, I mean, you can, but we're probably just going to send you home. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there's no point in coming in. So I remember we went upstairs and decided to take a nap, and you prayed for me again. And you were sitting at the edge of the bed, and I had on a diaper because my water had broken. So, to catch all the things, and you prayed for me. And it was basically the same prayer we had prayed the day before about surrender and about giving this over to the Lord and letting Him be in control, because in less than 24 hours, I forgot that lesson. So you prayed. And then right after you prayed, right before we laid down, I had another huge gush of water. And it wasn't the trickling that comes in between, but it was an additional, almost carbon copy of the one the day before, which can happen. The baby's head can be, in a position where it's blocking a forward bag of waters, and then it can shift, and then the water can come out. So it was my water broke again. Okay, I'm going to take that as a sign for the second time in a row that, okay, cool. Still no contractions, but I laid down and we took a nap, and it was a solid nap. It was 45 minutes of deep, good sleep that I think we both really needed at that point.
It was like a Ross Geller and Joey Tribbiani nap.
Yes.
It was that kind of a nap.
If you watch Friends and you've seen that episode, it was a good nap. So I woke up from the nap before Chris, not with a contraction, but I just had a feeling. There was just a feeling that woke me up. I woke you up and I said, okay, let's go finish our date. So our plan was to go finish our date from the night before, because we didn't get to. My sister was going to pick up the kids from daycare and bring them back to the house. And so I wanted to be out of the house before the kids got home. And so I just said, well, let's go finish our date. So I went to the bathroom, and I remember I just started shaking. I started getting the chills. My teeth started chattering. My whole body was just like, ugh. I started getting nauseous. I remember feeling this way in transition with Milo. So I'm like, why is this happening? I still hadn't had a contraction. So we get our stuff, we go downstairs. I'm of course like, well, yeah, we're going to bring our stuff for the labor just in case like anything happens while we're out. Well, we're getting ready to get in the car. I walked downstairs and in the kitchen, I remember clear as day, we were standing at the corner of the kitchen and my first contraction hit me. And it hit me like a freight train. And I grabbed onto you and just like sunk into you and was like, oh, like immediately vocal. Like it was like immediate. And it felt exactly like a transition contraction. And I was like, it's time to go to the birth center. Like right now, like one contraction in and I'm like, it's time. We're going. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I remember with our first two, it was a lot more gradual.
Oh, yeah. It was very gradual.
And so I think I was in that moment, I was just kind of confused because it was just so sudden.
Yeah.
And so...
but my water had already broken. So that's a big part of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the gradual onset of contractions,
yeah,
it's just what I had been used to. And then
none of that this time.
Yeah.
So I went 0 to 60. I mean, I hit transition in my kitchen. No early labor, no active labor. It was like, this is it. And so we get in the car and you fly to the birth center, even though it was rush hour traffic. That's the thing. We left at like 5:30 on a weekday. So it was totally rush hour. And I remember when we got to Winston and all the traffic around Winston and you were like debating jumping on the shoulder and just like flooring it. I mean, my contractions were right on top of one another. It was like I was getting like a 30-second break in between them.
Well, my husband protector mode was setting in.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm like, if a policeman's going to stop me, then...
he's going to escort me.
Yeah, he'll take me, the rest of the hour drive.
Right.
So did we miss that detail that the birth center is an hour and a half away?
Yeah, I think we said that in the last one. It's like an hour 20 from our house, but I think you got there, honestly, in like under an hour. Like you drove fast, which I thoroughly appreciated because I was in very hard labor. And I was just sitting upright in the car the whole time. And honestly, I was timing contractions on like the little contraction timer just so I could have something to focus on. I knew they were right on top of each other. I didn't need to be timing them, but I was just like, I need something to look at. I need something to focus on. And then you turn my worship playlist on, which I really appreciated because I was like, oh yeah, that's what I made that for this moment. So that was good. And I started listening to that. But that was the most intense car ride of my life. And I remember right as soon as we pulled off the highway, I opened the door about to throw up. And then I was like, no, okay, let's just keep going. And I closed the door and like we zoomed down whatever that road is right there. I remember we pulled in to the birth center and they were all standing outside waiting because they knew I was going to be there. Mom was already there. She beat us. And it was Marcia and somebody else. And they were like, okay, Kayla, it's time to get out of the car. And I was like, no. Like, I knew that as soon as I moved, I was going to have another contraction. And they were so intense, I didn't want to. And so they opened the door and they undid my seatbelt and they were like, nope, we're going to go. And like they picked me up. I had one midwife under one arm, one under the other arm, and they like carried me. I like floated into the birth center. It felt like I was gliding.
That's so majestic though.
It was. They were I'm like, wow, I weigh a lot right now. How are you guys doing it? They were so strong. But they wanted me inside.
To be a midwife, you have to have a gym membership.
Yeah.
And commit to going 5 days a week.
Well, if you're a midwife, you're not going 5 days a week. But anyway, so they got me inside. They wanted to check me. And based on how I was feeling, the fact that I was a 7 disappointed me. I was like, I'm only dilated 7.
Yes.
Like, I was so disappointed only because I was like, this is it. I am in transition. And I was. But then Marsha was like, you could dilate to like 9 in one contraction. I was like, oh, you're right. I know that. Okay, fine. So they had already filled up the tub for me. So I get in the tub, and you got in the tub right after me because my back immediately started hurting, back labor, because this baby had moved down and had another big head. Not as big as Milo's, praise Jesus. So you were giving me counter pressure. I was in the tub, worship music playing. I remember biting my hand through a contraction and biting a washcloth through a contraction and just like biting things to get through them. I was not in a great mental state. I think I was just like overtaken, overwhelmed. It was just happening so fast that like I did not have time to like properly mentally prepare. There was you're right. It was no gradual increase. I was at the end when I started, which is a blessing in all honesty, but it was just like my mind couldn't catch up with what my body was doing. So I was not in the best place. And Louisa, my friend, was supposed to be there and acting as my doula, but she was driving from her vacation home in the mountains a couple hours away. So it was going to take her, twice as long as it was going to take us. So she wasn't there. She would have been the one to get in my face and to snap me out of it and to be like, Kayla, get it together. But, which is what I wanted her to do, but she wasn't there. So I was not getting it together. So not long after I was in there, it felt pretty quick. I got pushy and I started feeling that pressure, which was like shocking to me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have been in labor for like a second. Like, how am I already feeling this urge to push? Well, I did sort of like a practice push, if you will, in the tub. And all of a sudden I just had total clarity. And because I wanted a water birth, because I wanted one with Milo, but they made me get out. So like I didn't get one. So I was like, I'm going to have one this time. But I did that practice push and was like, you know what? I can push this baby out faster on land than in water. And at that point, whatever is faster is better. So I came up with this plan. And I remember in between a contraction, I looked at everybody in the room and I said, okay, this is what's going to happen. I need you to put my heating pad on the bed and crank it to high because I need it for my back. I'm getting out of the tub. I'm coming to the bed and I'm going to push him out. And they were like, okay, everybody get ready. So of course, the second you move, you have a contraction. So as soon as I got out of the tub, I had a contraction right there on the floor and I'm pushing because I'm there. So I remember they put like all these pads under me and they were like ready to catch. And I was like, no, I'm going to make it to the bed. So
I remember one of the midwives after he was born saying, I was ready as soon as you got out of that tub to deliver that baby on the floor.
Yes, they were ready, which was great. But I was determined to get in the bed. So I got in the bed. You were right behind me, like supporting me from behind. And I think at this point, you still really did not realize how fast this was going.
No, I had no, absolutely not. Yeah. And I'll expound upon that later, I'm sure.
So once I got into a good position and got into kind of like a little rhythm, it was definitely less than 10 minutes, but if I go look back at the video, maybe even less than 5 of me actually pushing him out. Because for Brinkley, first baby, epidural, 40 minutes. Not bad. For Milo, second baby, huge baby, natural birth, an hour. It took me an hour because he was giant. And I really do think I started pushing too soon. But with this one, it was like, boom, less than 5 minutes. Here comes this baby. And looking back at the birth video, I have to mute it every time because I was screaming like a banshee. I didn't have anybody in my face telling me to calm down. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to calm down. But I was so emotionally overtaken by how fast everything was going and how intense everything was. And I didn't have anyone in my face telling me to calm down. I was screaming him out. I was not pushing him out. I was screaming him out, loud, high-pitched sounds like I'm being murdered screams. And it's embarrassing to like look back at that. So I always mute that whenever I watch that video. But he came out. I was at that point, Marcia had left and a different midwife had come, Tiffany, because they were switching shifts like right when I got there. And I looked at her and I was like, pull him out of me. Like, pull him out. And she was like, no, you just need to push him out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because, even though it was only a couple minutes, it was just it was very intense. Again, I was not in the right mental place, but it was very intense.
Yeah, I remember when you were screaming, wondering, why are you screaming? And I was so concerned because I'm just such an empath that it's hard for me to not live your pain. And that's a big reason why it's hard for me to get in. It was hard for me to not just try to bring that clarity to you. I was like, this is not helpful, even though it's happening very fast. Like, channel some of this intensity that you're feeling in a different way that's more effective,
But you didn't say that to me.
I didn't say that to you.
You were just hiding your head behind mine. If you look in the video, it's like your head is hiding. You're putting your head down like, I can't watch this.
Well, it's not that I can't watch it. It's that it's just unbearable to see my perception of what your pain was. And that's just kind of a testament to why it's important to have a doula there. Because,
which Louisa was supposed to be. She just was 2 hours away.
Right, yeah. So so that was really interesting. And I really had no idea how far along you were. I mean, you mentioned pushing for 5 minutes. And I remember the first 2 minutes, it's like, she's screaming, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't go on much longer because I don't know if I can take it. But then they're talking about like how they can see the head and like, wait, what? You can see the head right now? And I remember being excited because I knew the moment was close. But also I knew that at the same time that I was about to, meet my baby. So.
Well, they brought him up and he was on my chest, and I think it's the only labor or only baby I've ever just started bawling. Like, I was uncontrollably crying, like happy tears, like just that hormone rush that just comes over you. And I was just like, oh my God. And I just kept saying his name over and over, Jensen, like just over and over and over. And I was sobbing, but like in the best way,
Yeah, it was very sweet. I was crying too.
You were.
And
you're not a crier.
I'm not a crier. I cry on the inside. But it's funny. One of my New Year's resolutions was to cry 5 times that year, and I think I made it to 2. And that was trying, But I do remember when he came out, it was so incredible because to see the bond between mother and child is just so special. And when he was laid on your chest, and I could just tell that you were just so glad that he was there, not just that the labor and delivery was over, but that he was there and that you were with him and that you were meeting him for the first time. It was just so special.
Yeah, it was so special. And he was only 9 pounds.
Hey.
So a big relief compared to Milo. He was only 9 pounds. And his head, I don't remember how big his head was, but it was not 15 and a half. Like it was probably like 14. So that was easier to get out as well.
Fun fact is that Brinkley was 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Milo was 10 pounds, 12 ounces. The exact center of those two numbers is 9 pounds on the dot.
On the dot.
Which I thought was just so wild.
I did it. I made a medium. Small, medium, large. I made one in each size. But it was awesome. Louisa got there like 8 minutes later. So she was sad she missed it, but I was just glad it was over. But it was so fast. He was born, let's see, first contraction was at like 5:30, and he was born at 7:41 p.m. So like just over 2 hours later from start to finish, which is what they would call a precipitous labor.
That's a word that,
It's a birth word, but they are...
It's a word that's used commonly in birth circles.
Yeah, for fast labors. So
Yes.
it was intense and it was fast. But after it was over, I was like, well, I would do that again over, over the longer labors because it was, it was so fast. Although, I didn't get to like enjoy it or kind of be in the moment. It was definitely happening kind of for me, but it was a very, I'll say, like, redemptive birth because the transition with Milo was so hard that this felt, now not the throwing up part of the pregnancy, that was awful, but like the rest of the pregnancy and into like the labor and delivery just felt really redemptive. It just felt so sweet. And then honestly, he was the best newborn until he got sick, which is a different story. But until he got sick, he was the best newborn, and he was so sleepy. And he would just like wake up, nurse, and immediately fall back asleep. You didn't have to rock him or anything. He was just that little lump, that little lump of slumber. And it was summertime, which I honestly really enjoyed. I thought it would be too hot, but I really loved it. And I remember coming home from the birth center with like a tank top and flip-flops and shorts. It's not winter, and I'm not all covered up with blankets and sweaters and stuff.
I do remember a lot of the post-birth time with him just being so calm and peaceful.
Peaceful.
I remember, when we had visited, like, and gone on like errands and stuff with just him when the other kids were in daycare, it was just like, this is so nice. Partially because our other kids are just generally kind of intense when they were the age that they were when Jensen was born. But
yeah, well, and it was nice too because this transition was so much smoother. Like Milo and Brinkley played with each other, so it wasn't like I had someone, at my ankles every time I'm trying to nurse this child. And obviously, like, I was also working, so I was on maternity leave with him while the kids were in daycare a lot. So it was, it was just a different experience, but I think it's what we really needed, what I really needed during that time. It was much better for my mental state, for sure, to have that time with him. And I won't get into the story tonight about how sick he ended up getting. That's a whole nother story, but it was really good that, like, the kids were at daycare and I was at home with him during that time to figure out all of his health issues that he ended up with later on. Well, that was it. That was our story of Jensen Cove is his middle name. Jensen Cove Heeter. Did we go over everyone's names?
No.
Okay, well, so we have Brinkley, Harvest, Heeter. And we have Milo, Halstead, Heeter. And now Jensen Cove Heeter. And we won't take the time to explain where all of those names came from and what they mean because that would take a while, but they all came from places and they all have meanings.
This is true.
This is true.
This is
And now Jensen is almost 4 and an escape artist. Let's just say that. The best description of him right now is he can escape out of anything and anywhere in the sneakiest little ways.
Yeah, he's a natural Houdini these days.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Whew. Okay. Well, until next time. Next time is True's birth story coming up soon. And that's probably my favorite. I love all of my children equally, but that's probably my favorite birth story.
Well, I would probably say it's because it was your favorite birth.
Yeah. Yes, that would make sense. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. You can reach me at Surrendered Birth Services on Instagram or email me at contact@surrenderedbirthservices.com. Be sure not to miss an episode by hitting the follow button. Also, we'd love for you to leave a written review of the show so that more people's births and lives can be changed by the love of Jesus and the empowerment of accurate birth education. If you really enjoyed this episode in particular, please take a screenshot of it and post it to your Instagram story, tagging Surrendered Birth Services. If you would like to be a guest on the Surrendered Birth Stories podcast, please click the link in the episode show notes to fill out your interest form. Also, if you're interested in taking my childbirth classes, birth consultations, or having me as your birth doula, please click on the link in the show notes to take you to my website for online and in-person options. Just as a reminder, this show is not giving medical advice, so please continue to see your personal care provider as needs arise. We hope you have a great week, and remember, learn all that you can, make the best plans, and then leave it in God's hands.